Welcome everyone to a brand new episode on David's Saturday Night Sit Back, and today joining me in the studio is none other than James Mooney. James has been in the fitness industry for over a decade. As a graduate of Southern Oregon University in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in health and physical education, James went on to work as the head strength and conditioning coach at Southern Oregon for the next 2 years before branching off into the private sector. James has gone on to work with high-level athletes across many backgrounds, from professional, college, and high school athletes to special ops personnel, as well as LEO and first responders. He specializes in maximizing performance through improving strength, power, explosiveness, size, and mobility. James is a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the NSCA, a level 1 coach with USA Weightlifting, as well as a tactical training specialist through EXOS. Today, James joins me in the studio to talk about entrepreneurship, mental fortitude when launching your own business, how to pivot when your journey becomes more difficult than anticipated, and we'll see what other rabbit holes we dive into this evening. James, thank you for being here with me today, and welcome to your episode on David's Saturday Night Sit Back.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Tell the audience why you think they should stick around for today's episode.
I mean, I think we'll probably touch on a lot of things that are applicable to a lot of people out there. I mean, especially nowadays with social media and everything, everyone wants to work for themselves. They want to have this flexibility, this freedom. So there's a lot of interest in starting your own business or, working for yourself. And I think that we can probably cover a lot of things there that might help somebody, on their journey.
Especially in Austin, there is at least compared to Sacramento, where I moved from. Sacramento, you throw a rock, you're going to hit someone working an 8 to 5. Right. I feel like in Austin, Texas, you throw a rock, you're going to hit someone who's starting to run their own business. Maybe they still have the 8 to 5, but they're on their way towards that entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, 100%. I think, especially in Austin, since I've been here, pretty much everyone I meet has some sort of side hustle, something that they're doing to, get out of that grind. And like, you can go to Barton Springs in the middle of the day on like a Tuesday and it's packed. It's like, where, like,
why aren't you working?
Does your boss know that you're here? Like, where's this coming from? Like, but I think there's a lot of people that work for themselves. There's like, especially like in the fitness industry, like there's a lot of influencers, people that don't have normal jobs. And so, I think a lot of people aspire to have that. They like that freedom. They like to be able to travel. Like, they don't want to be chained to a desk 5 days a week. Yep. Right. So yeah, Austin is definitely a hotbed for that. Like, I think it just the people it attracts, like the type of city it is, the energy here just attracts that type of person, I think.
Yeah. It's a good energy. I love it.
It's a good vibe for sure.
Who is James?
I mean, that's such a crazy question to ask somebody. Like,
I go with the hardest first. I promise it'll get easier from here on out.
I don't even know how to answer that. Like, who am I? I think I'm like a lot of people. Like, I'm a person who wants to be a better version of himself. I think I'm a person who values getting the best experience out of my life as possible. And I think, like most people, I've had those ups and downs where things are really good one day and then, maybe 6 months down the road, things kind of suck. And so I think I'm just a normal person trying to navigate life and get the most out of it and be the best version of myself possible, in whatever avenue that is, whether that's like interpersonal skills, professional, like my hobbies. Like, I try to be the best version of myself there as possible. Like, perfection is obviously impossible, but we can always strive to be better than we were yesterday, kind of thing.
What do you think one of your highest highs has been?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think I've had a lot of high highs. Like, that sounds stupid, but
high highs.
Like a lot of high highs. Recently, I think a high for me would be like even just moving to Austin, right? Because it's such a different, like, outside, like, that sounds cliche, like, right? Like, but it's more than just moving to Austin. It's moving outside of your comfort zone, right? So like me moving here, I lived in Oregon for 10 years and I had like a established life and I was kind of in a place where I was kind of in a rut and I wanted to change. And so I picked a place on the map and made the move here and started over, kind of thing. so it's less about moving to Austin necessarily, but it's more of like being proud of myself that I was able to get out of something that I didn't feel was great for me, right? Like I felt like I was stagnant. I felt like I wasn't happy. I wasn't growing where I was at. And instead of falling into that trap of, oh, well, this is me for the next 30 years, it was more of like, hey, it's okay to start over kind of thing.
Yeah. As far as Austin goes, did you put a map on the wall and start throwing darts, or how'd you land on Austin,
I had it
Texas?
narrowed down because, well, obviously I listened to Joe Rogan a lot, and he always talked about how awesome Austin is. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. And then it was right after like the shutdowns and COVID and all that type of stuff. So it was like, I want to be in a position where that's not going to be something that happens again. So I was like, maybe somewhere in Florida, maybe Austin, maybe like Nashville. Nashville sounds cool.
Yeah.
So it was like trying to pick like something that where it's like a younger city, like a lot going on. And so it's kind of just between those three. Like Austin sounded good.
Yeah.
Why not? Texas sounds cool.
Yep.
Why not?
My sister just made a move to Manhattan, New York, on the west side, and
That sounds terrible.
from Sacramento. So she's been there 2 years, and when I went to see her last month, she's still feeling the culture shock of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, what two different cities? You got
Wildly
the
different.
suburbia of California to downtown New York.
Yeah. See, that was part of the thing too, is I was like, I don't want to go somewhere where the weather's like super shitty either. So I was like,
Yes.
nowhere that snows. I love the snow, but I don't want to deal with the snow. I don't want to have to like dig my car out. I don't want to have to salt
No.
my driveway. I'm good off that.
Yeah, if I'm doing physical labor in the morning, it's by choice,
Yeah.
not by necessity.
100%. Like I'm not waking up early to shovel snow out of my driveway. I'm good.
No, yeah,
So-
same here. No snow.
So yeah, that was a caveat of it. It had to be somewhere where the weather is relatively nice. Granted, I didn't know Austin was as humid as it is or as hot as it is. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, oh, it can't be that bad, right?
We could have it worse.
Yeah, we could have it worse.
Yeah, we can jump in a pool. We can jump in Barton Springs with snow. That's a whole different ballgame.
100%.
This is you, I believe. Have you seen this picture recently?
That's a long time ago. That's like senior year of high school right there. That's almost 20 years ago.
What comes to mind when you see this picture of yourself?
Oh, I look like a douchebag in that photo.
No, don't say that. I mean, we were all sort of douchey. When,
Yeah,
our
100%.
we were at the top of the world our senior year. We were the big dog for the first time in our life.
That's like I got the shaved slit in the eyebrow. Like what are we doing right there? No, that guy is wildly different. Like that guy is wildly different than who I am right now. I think very I don't know. I think it's like looking back at your younger self, like you make a lot of bad choices, right, in your life, and you don't know really, like that guy right there. You have to talk to that guy, like, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to play in the NFL. Like that's my goal, right? But like how realistic of that is, like that's not super realistic for some somewhat unathletic white guy from like Northern California that didn't even have any D1 scholarship offers coming out of high school. So it's like, but it was just kind of like, if you were to ask him and tell him where he's at, 20 years down the road, he would never have picked Austin, Texas, like doing strengthening. Like that's not even on the radar.
Yeah.
know? So it's wild how like life takes you in a different path, right? You have your idea of like, this is how life is going to be. And then it's never that way. Right.
Yeah. Where were you at that point in time? Northern California, you said, or
yeah,
where
I was
home?
outside of San Francisco, so like Walnut Creek, which is like East Bay, San Francisco, or East Bay, Northern California. And I was finishing up senior year.
If you had to describe the first 18 years of your life, what's some either words or memories or stories that come to mind?
I would say childhood was not super great. We moved around a lot, so like there was no stability really, and I think it serves two purposes, right? Like you could look at it like, oh, that's super terrible, right? Like it was no stability, like whatever. But also, I think of it as more of like life experience. Like I lived in 9 different places before I was in 4th grade, right? So like I met so many different people, lived in different like cultures, and being exposed to different parts of the country. Like I view that as, like, looking back on it, probably a good experience overall, but definitely not a super like awesome time in my life, I think.
Yeah.
So
Was there any excitement to it of like, oh, I get to sort of reinvent myself again, or who are we going to meet? Or was it more of like a, Mom, Dad, we're moving again. We've been here
yeah,
8 months.
yeah. I think it was more that. It was more that when it's like, because this was like 20 years ago. There was no social media, so it's like when you move away, it's like you're not checking your friend's Instagram on, like, hey, well, I wonder what Timmy's up to, right?
Yeah.
Like my friend from second grade, right? So it's more of like, oh no, now it's like completely new life. So I think if you were to do that nowadays, I think it's a lot less impactful because we're all connected super, super well through social media, phones, cell phones, everything. Yeah. So, but back then it was like, no, it's like that person's dead to you now. Like you're never going to see that person. You'll probably never see that person again, even though he's your best friend or something, So I think that's one of those things where it's like, I don't think the younger generation now, like, that sounds weird saying younger gen, but like the kids coming up now is like, oh, I can just like email that person or I can text that person. It's like, that wasn't a thing when I was moving around when I was younger. So, yeah, no, I think in the moment I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not so much, but it's whatever.
By the time you were in high school, did you go to all 4 years at the same high school, or were you guys still moving around at that point?
No, I went to 3 different high schools, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to 2 separate high schools my freshman year. My mom and I had some financial issues. We were homeless for a while, and so like, so when I moved in with my mom, moving into high school, she has this grand idea of like, oh, like she comes from like a Wall Street background, so like she's like made a lot of money, like really high performer, and then she went through like a transition where like she wasn't that anymore, and now she's working like normal jobs, right? Like she was working at the like the grocery store or something, right? And so but she still had like that grand aspiration of like, she's like, oh, we're gonna move to Malibu, and Malibu's very expensive, right? So we moved to Malibu, and she can't afford to pay our rent, and so I'm going to high school. My freshman year in Malibu, she can't afford to pay our rent, and now we're homeless. And it's like, oh well, we'll move in with a friend up in Northern California. So I went to a different high school up in Tahoe for the second half of that, and then eventually moved back down to Walnut Creek for the last 3 years of my high school. But yeah, went to 3 different high schools. So that also not a great, Yeah. The younger me was very resentful of that, obviously.
Yeah.
Because high school's already hard enough without having to try to meet new people now,
Was that something that you felt like you carried with you, that you were living with under another family's household, or did you have any embarrassment or shame, or how'd you react to that?
Oh, definitely. I think like we're always like so insecure, like especially like in that time of your life, like you're going through puberty, like your hormones are all over the place, like the insecurities are through the roof, like you care about girls, but it's like, and you just want to be popular and accepted, and it's like one of those things where it's like, now I go to these super rich high schools and I was not super rich, right? Like,
yeah.
And so it's like, oh man, these kids are, getting dropped off in Mercedes and going back to their, big ass houses, and I'm getting ready at some local church, like doing like a little hose bath in the church bathroom to go to school the next day. So it definitely led to a lot of insecurity, I think, growing up, like, because it's like, oh, you just want to be accepted, you want to fit in. It's like, looking back on it, it's like, it's a great experience, but like I can see, like, it taught me a lot, but at the time it was like not a great experience,
Yeah.
But I'm not one on like, oh, pity me, that kind of thing, but because it all teaches you, like, it all happens for a reason. It all teaches us something. And it's just whether or not you're willing to look back on it and actually learn something from that.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing from that was, oh, I don't want to ever be in that position again. Like that's what I took from that. It's like, oh, I'm never going to be that guy again. So I'm going to work super hard and push myself so that I'm never in that situation again, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a motivator right there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you have to take the lessons from it, and you have to try to use that to shoot yourself in a positive direction, right? Because you could take that easily and be like, oh, I'm going to drink my sorrows away, or I'm going to, be super, like, fuck the system and, like, everyone sucks, like, and sit in your own bullshit. But it's how you choose to react to that. I think
Yeah.
that makes the difference.
When did you start playing football? You remember what year?
Freshman year.
Freshman year.
Yeah.
Were you good?
I was all right. I was all right.
And when you were a senior,
Yeah.
did you, at that point of your life, did you actually think you could potentially go to the NFL, or was it?
That was the goal. I think my whole goal was I wanted to get a Division I scholarship. So like, that was my whole, like, if I can do that, then I'm good. And I ended up going to a JUCO after that because I didn't get any interest. I didn't know anything about like I didn't really have a great system, like a support system. I didn't know you could walk on to schools. I got into every school I applied to, but I was like, none of them like have said I can play here, so I'm gonna go JUCO, which is stupid. Like I could have just gone to any of those schools and just walked on, but I didn't know any better. Yeah, and so that was my path, and so I was just trying to get a scholarship, and so I ended up getting a scholarship. So it worked out, but definitely not the NFL thing.
Yeah. How long did you play for in college?
I played all four. I actually played 6 years of college because I got hurt, and then I redshirted, and so I played a lot of college football.
Yeah. What was the injury?
I tore my knee up, so I got my ACL. I dislocated my kneecap, tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, and in practice.
Oh, in practice.
In practice, it was terrible. So that was awesome, but part of it. Luckily, that's the only major injury I had, I think.
I have one more picture for you.
Oh, no.
Actually, I have two more, but just one for now.
Okay.
I don't know if this is before or after high school, but do you remember this one?
That's that's freshman year of college right there.
Who's that with you?
That's my I think that's my buddy Terrell. Yeah, and we're just at like some house party, I think. I don't know.
Were you guys close friends or just college buddies? What was the?
Yeah, that was one of my teammates. We played the same position, both played defensive end, and so we were just hanging out. He's a good guy. I still talk to him, I think. Not too often, but you know how that goes. Like you lose contact with people, but I think we still talk on social media every now and then. So that's a funny picture. It's another long, like, damn, you dug for that one.
I did a little digging a couple nights ago. Hey, when you find someone with 3,000 pictures on their Instagram, there's got to be a couple interesting ones in here.
In my defense, I've had my Instagram for like 15, almost like I've had my Instagram since Instagram started. So there's going to be a lot of photos.
There's a few. There's
a lot of photos on there.
Yeah.
I never restarted it. I should have restarted it at some point, but no.
I'm glad you did it. For the purposes of today's conversation, I'm very grateful that those old pictures were on there.
It does look weird, though. It's like, damn, that man uploaded 3,000 photos. But I swear I've had it for like 13 years. So, like, I guess that's still kind of a lot, but maybe not.
It's a journal.
It's a journal.
Of
right?
sorts.
Yeah.
It's a digital journal.
Yeah. I think if I had my choice, though, I wouldn't have Instagram. The only reason I still have it, I think, is mainly for the networking and the like business aspects of it. But I think if I had my choice and like I didn't have to post on there to like get clients or like expand my network, I think I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same for me. I mean, you're a perfect example. I use it to find guests, and even my quote unquote followers, I almost feel like it's a little hub for me and my past guests I'm trying to get on, and future guests to all sort of have a common place. And so that's all it is,
Yeah.
And thank goodness for like calendars and stuff. So like I have a TikTok, never go in there. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to know what's in there. I just let the AI post its thing, and ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. TikTok's funny. Like TikTok, that's a dangerous one. I have a TikTok, and I upload there every now and then. I was uploading there a lot, but they suck you in. Like it's an addictive one. It's crazy. The algorithm and everything is wild there.
Yeah.
And that's like that's a potential black hole. Like you got to be careful.
Oh
with
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
That's why I just stay away.
Yeah.
I don't touch it.
Just don't even risk it.
So many of us, we're 18. We know probably we're going to go to college, but we have this looming question of what are you going to do with your life? You ended up getting your bachelor's degree in health and physical education. Was that the plan all along, or did you sort of stumble upon that major at some point?
No, like I said, the whole goal was the NFL. And so it was like school was like not really something I wanted to go to. Like I didn't like it. I was never like I was good at school, like because I'm smart enough to do well on tests. Like I can kind of bullshit my way through things, and bullshitted my way through that degree for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really go to class. Like I never really opened my books. It was more of a, like, this is just how I have to do something. I might as well do something where it's like, oh, like maybe I could do some strength and conditioning or something down the road.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, like originally the plan was I wanted to be like an agent. Like I wanted to be an NFL agent or something. And so you need like a law degree in order to be that. So like the whole plan was I'm going to do law. And it's like, no, that sounds like a lot of school. I'm good off that.
Yeah.
So give me something easier. So I picked, it was originally like exercise science, but Southern Oregon didn't have that. It's a funny story. I went to a school in Mississippi called Delta State, and I studied exercise science there. And then I transferred my senior year for a reason, and Southern Oregon recruited me, and they're like, "Oh, you should come play here." And like, we have the same thing, we just call it something different. We call it health and physical education. I was like, "Okay, yeah." Like dumbass me, just like, "Oh yeah, cool." I get there and it's like not the same thing at all. So I was like, "All right, I guess I'm getting a degree in this now because I'm not transferring again." So, but yeah, I kind of ended up in there, and it's been good. I think if I had my choice though, going back, I don't know if I would have done that. I think I would have maybe picked something else.
What would that have been? Do you know?
Maybe something like business related, because I feel like that's like now later in my life, that's more applicable to things that I'm interested in, like the strength and conditioning. I learned a lot in college in regards to that, but it's like, especially now, like you can get such a good education through like YouTube and like, and not spend the money. Like granted, I didn't really spend the money because I was on scholarship, but like I could have got more value out of something else, I think.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's how it happened. You can't like look back on it and be like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, because you can't.
It's
done.
time spent
like,
now.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Like waste the next couple years thinking about how you wish you had done something differently that you can't change. So it's been good for me so far. It's opened a lot of doors. But I think, But I think honestly, degrees, unless you're like a doctor or something, I don't think degrees really serve a whole lot of purpose nowadays in today's society.
I have mixed feelings after talking to so many people on here.
Yeah.
Because we have people who they were 4.0. I had this school and targeted. I had that degree targeted.
Right.
And then they've come on here and said, why did I do all of that? And then I have people who never went to school, and they come on here and they're like, damn, I should have gone to school, Yeah. So and even me, I got an accounting degree. I'm not doing jack shit with it.
Right. It's like, why did I waste my 4 years of doing that? And I think like the college experience is great, like getting the experience there. But I think if I had done something different, like if I hadn't been playing football, I think it would have been better to like spend those 4 years doing something else. Like maybe that's working some shitty job somewhere, right? Or maybe it's traveling a little bit more, getting some more life experience, because I think you learn more during like real world scenarios like that. Whereas like college is like it's like fake life. Like you're not actually, like you don't really have a ton of responsibilities, right? Like it's pretty low unless you're paying for it yourself, like and working your way through college. Like it's pretty much like a fake, like it's 4 year buffer zone of like you can just fuck around and do whatever, and then you're thrown out into the real world, and it's like now you got to survive. Yeah. Whereas I think that's such a pivotal time in your life, you can learn a lot there. Yeah. And you can still mess up and be okay. Whereas like once you get later in life, it's like, oh, the mess ups are a little bit more costly. Yes. So I don't know. I think I steer people away from that kind of thing, unless like you need something like I said, like a doctor or something, like a lawyer, like something where you actually need a degree, because most of the people I know don't use anything that they don't work in the field that they got a degree in. Right. So it's
then it goes back to the whole butterfly effect thing. If I had not spent those 4 years getting my degree in accounting, would I have ever made it to Austin, Texas?
Right. No, it changes everything.
It's like, what do I do?
It changes everything, right? Like where it would completely alter your life. So moving forward, I like if I were to, like they said, oh, you could redo it. I don't know if I would redo it the way that I did it. Yeah. But I'm content and happy with the way things worked out, because it all led here, right? Yeah. Like we wouldn't be having this conversation if those things hadn't have happened. I wouldn't be in Austin.
Let me ask you in a different way. Do you have kids right now?
No.
Let's just say hypothetically you did have an 18-year-old boy or
Right.
girl. Would you advise them to go to college? It's hypothetical, insane question,
Right.
right? But let's just say like they were like entering their senior year. They got 1 year of high school left. How do you think you'd be advising them right now?
I think I'm the least qualified person to advise somebody about that. So I would outsource that, I think. But no,
Sure.
I think it depends. Are they unsure of what they want to do in life? Because if they're unsure, like I'd tell them like take a couple years off, like go get a job somewhere, like figure out what you actually are into. Because I think that's part of the problem with like the college system and the high school system is like we expect 18-year-olds to know what they want to do with the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And they have no experience with anything, right? Like what have they been exposed to? Like most kids I feel like don't like school. So it's like now you're like, hey, you need to commit to a major and stay the next 4 years, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And if you decide down the road that you want to switch it, it's going to cost you more money because you're going to spend. It's like you're forced into this path. And I think a lot of people end up unhappy because they end up on a path where it's like they have to like, oh, I have this degree, I need to work in that field now.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it would depend kind of like where their interest lies. Do they know what they want to do? If they don't, then I would say no. Like I would say take some time. Like you don't need to make a decision right now. You can always go back to college.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my buddies, I have a lot of military buddies, and a lot of them did their time in the military and then they went back to college, and it was like a much better experience because they got more out of it because they're 25, 26 when they went back to college, and like they have an idea of what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so I think they get more out of it. And by then, they actually want to be there. I think a lot of 18-year-olds, they just want to party. They want to like meet girls and like, do stupid shit.
You want to do life.
Yeah, you want to do life. You want to do fun stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go back at like 25, 26, I think a lot of people, they have an idea of what they want. And so when you have an idea of what you want, you're more willing to work for it. And so like they're doing better in school, like they're paying more attention in classes, like asking better questions. So I think that life experience is huge for that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting about your bio is that you got to work with some special operations folks as well as first responders.
Yeah.
I was originally kinesiology major. I had got my personal training certification through AFA before going to school. Went to this PT conference where the keynote speaker worked with D1 athletes, actors, actresses, musicians, and I thought, I want her job. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
What was sort of your path to being able to train and work with those special operations and first responders?
So I worked in the private sector for a while, where I was doing a lot of like basic like older populations and like young kids, some high school kids, but like your general population type people. And then I got the opportunity. I had a company called Gunsmith Clothing that I started with a buddy of mine back in like 2014, and we launched. And it was mainly like a lifestyle brand. And we ended up partnering. We sold part of the company to this guy, and he was big in the defense. His main business was defense contract work, and so he became an investor in our company. And we ended up opening this gym in Oregon, Southern Oregon, and we got a lot of people through there. Like by then, I had established like early days of Instagram. Like I had like 10,000 followers or something. So I was like, which was a lot back then, like in the early days of Instagram, and so I was kind of well known in the area, and so I became well known as like a strength and conditioning coach, and so people would come to the gym, and so I got a lot of, like local police, local sheriffs, firefighters, and then we got some military guys that would come through, just that were from the area, and they'd be on leave or whatever, and they'd come through, and so got to work with a lot of those guys, and then gradually that just kind of expanded, to where I was exposed to a lot more guys, like really high level, high performers in the military, as well as like high level law enforcement. And, I just got exposed to a lot more of those. And that's kind of just how it works. You meet those people, and if you have the credibility, a lot of times they'll be more open to like listening to you. And then it's like, oh, you kind of develop a relationship through that. And so that's kind of how that worked out. And I really enjoyed that. That's a fun aspect of it. I don't do as much of that anymore since I moved to Austin, because kind of like restarted everything out here. But yeah, it's always fun to work with those types of guys, because they're like your average gym goer's fairly motivated, but like those types of guys that are pursuing that type of training and stuff are usually, they're pursuing it because they want to do that, and
Yes.
they realize the value in it, and it's also paramount to their job and their performance, you know, and being at a high level of shape and like being able to perform their job well is vital to their success and sometimes their safety in their life.
Yeah.
So it's a different level of like work ethic that you experience, and like it's always fun to work with people that want to do it and want to be better, and that makes it a much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun to be able to provide value to those guys because they need it.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, I was in a similar boat where I probably had 80% older people who had the money to train,
Yeah.
and then maybe 10 to 20% of people who were wanting to come in and just get after it.
Yeah.
This
And
one
so
guy
much more
named
fun.
Patrick came to mind, and we trained, I think it was every Monday and Wednesday at 4.
Yeah.
And I always got so excited to train with them
Yeah.
because it's such a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have somebody that's willing, and I think that's like when I was doing like the general population stuff, I was working at this health club in Oregon, and I did that for about 6 years, and 6 years, and it was hit or miss. It was like a mixed bag. You just get random people that join the gym, and they'd assign them to me, and you know, half of them didn't really want to be there. Half of them were, or like half of them didn't want to be there. Like a quarter of them probably were like, oh, this is all right. I could see some value here. And then there was maybe like 10, 15%, 20% maybe that were like hell yeah, like I want to be better.
Make me puke.
Yeah, make me puke. But like I'm gonna do the stuff you tell me to do. Like
Yes.
I'll do extra stuff if you tell me to do it at home. Like I want to be here. I'm happy to be here. Like this is the best part of my day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like so much more rewarding to work with those people because you care so much more because they care.
Yeah.
It's like somebody always told me, like, especially when like business, like nobody's ever going to care about your business as much as you care. And so it's like one of those things where it's like this is their body. I'm never going to care as much as you care. Right. Like
Yeah.
you set the standard. Like there's no way, like I can tell you I care and I will care,
Yeah.
but I'm never going to, like, I can never want this more than you. Like you have to want this. And then that sets the standard of like where I'm at. Right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care, then why would I care? Right. Like you have to, like, I can't want this for you. I can want you to be healthy, but like, if you don't care about it, then there's really nothing I can do because I can't make you eat the right stuff. I can't make you work out. I can't make you do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Or I could, but it's not sustainable, right? Like you're
Yeah.
never going to get the results out of it. So
Especially with the diet part.
Yeah.
You
I'm
can't
not-
stock them in the kitchen.
I can't follow you around and slap food out of your hand and be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So, and I've done that with people. Like I've had clients where it's like, hey, like I need you to like make my food for me. I need you to do this. And it's like, that's not sustainable. Like I can give you all the tools to succeed, but if you don't want to do it, like this is never going to work.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more picture for you.
Okay.
This one's from 2014, so I might be going back in time for a couple years one more time.
Okay.
Is this you?
That is me. Yeah.
So you competed in the 2014 Oregon Ironman, is that correct? Or is
Yeah.
that probably where
Yeah.
that picture's from?
Yeah. It's not an actual Ironman. It's just a bodybuilding show that they call the Ironman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. I figured. Yeah. What was your motivation for wanting to do that?
So that's like, right. So I graduated college in 2011, and then I worked at the school for a couple years. And this was kind of like, wow, I graduated in 2011 and I gave myself 2 years to try to like play professionally. Went to a bunch of tryouts, did a bunch of things to try to play. And then I gave myself a 2-year window. It's like that's how much money I had saved up, kind of thing, where it's like, you have 2 years, you can work with all these coaches, you can work on all this stuff. And if it doesn't work out, like the dream's kind of like, you need to move on. And so 2013, I pretty much was like done. Like it had stopped being like a realistic expectation at this point that I'm going to play professionally. Like I had some offers to play overseas, but I was like, I was like, no, not really interested in that. And so this was me, like, now I had no competitive purpose, like, because now it was like, what am I working out for, kind of thing. Like, oh, I can work out to be like in better shape, but like, why? So it was like me trying to find a motivation, like something to pursue. And so there was a lot of guys doing like bodybuilding shows and stuff, and I wasn't big enough to do like bodybuilding by any means. I was still big. I was like, but I'm 6'4", and so like at 240 pounds, and then I cut down to maybe like 215 at the time, I think. It's like, I'm not big enough to be like an open bodybuilder. Like, I'll look stupid up there next to like some massive 240 pound dude. Like, it just like that weight doesn't look the same on me as somebody that's like 5'8", 5'9", which is what most of those bodybuilders are. And so it's like, so I did like men's physique, and it's stupid. You wear board shorts to cover up your legs, but it was a way to give me something to, have some discipline and work out. And, I kind of liked it for a while. I did it for a few years, but not really my thing. It's more pageantry, like subjective, win or lose. Like, it's all up to judges. Like, so not really my type of thing, but it gave me purpose for a few years. Yeah. Helped with the Instagram for sure. Yeah. Like being lean helps sell, services. People want to be like, oh, I want to look like that. So it helped. It served a purpose.
Yeah, I remember my buddy Tim. This will take you back in time a little bit. We would go to Barnes & Noble to look for books for new workouts.
Oh, yeah.
We would never buy them.
Oh, yeah.
But YouTube wasn't a thing.
100%.
Instagram wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so one time I remember I was flipping through the pages of some random fitness book, and he came up to me, he looked over my shoulder, he said, "Do you want to look like that guy?" And I said, "No." He said, "Why are you reading that book then?"
I mean, it's valid.
He was partly joking, but there's so much truth in that
valid.
too.
No, it's 100%. No, it's the working out before YouTube and before like social media is so crazy, because like I graduated high school in 2005, so like there was no. I think YouTube might have been around. I don't know.
Maybe. I was 2006, and I don't.
Yeah, maybe not. I think it was Facebook was just popping out. YouTube might have been around, but I don't think anyone was really using it for that.
Yeah.
So I remember like my sophomore year of high school, like I was skinny. I was like 150 pounds. I was tiny. Like, and I was trying to play football, and I was like, I need to be bigger than this, right? So, but there was no like basically back then it was like, hey, go to the biggest guy in the gym. But I worked out at like the school gym, so like the biggest guy at the gym was like senior. Yep. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, so I'm not gonna ask that guy, right? And he also doesn't want to help out like some scrawny sophomore, right?
Yep.
So I went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought a book, and it was like the strength coach for, I forget the name of the book, but it was a book that the strength coach at the University of North Carolina put out, and it was basically an entire year's worth of program from off season through in season. And I bought it, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna follow this. And so me and a buddy of mine, we followed it religiously, and that's how I started working out. Like, because we had a strength coach at the school, but it was like our PE coach, like, so, and it was like an hour a day. So we would do that. We'd do 2.5 hours after school every day, and just did that religiously. And that's how I learned how to work out, basically.
Yeah.
Probably form was terrible. Nobody there, you're looking at pictures like, oh, that looks right. Like, I'll do that.
Yep.
So probably looking back on it, probably terrible, but it worked,
That and watching other people. I remember me and my buddy Ed, we'd just see someone across the gym bigger than us doing a fly machine. And at the time, we didn't even know that worked out. We weren't sure if that worked out chest or biceps.
Like,
we just
what is he
knew
doing?
That guy's a stud. He would get off. Yeah. We would get on.
Yeah, 100%. You just follow that. You're just following that guy around all day. That's the way to do it, right? Yeah. And I would tell people that like it's still applicable. Like, for the most part, like if you go to a gym, you don't know what you're doing. Like, just look around, see what other people are doing. Like, if that person looks similar to like what you want to look like, just follow that person around. Like, who cares? Or better yet, go outside your comfort zone. Introduce yourself to that person. Like,
whoa,
like, wild concept. I know, but nowadays it's so much easier because like there's social media, there's YouTube, like there's so much content out there that's free and easy to digest that if you really want to, like you can learn anything. Like, you can learn how to work out, you can learn fucking French, you can learn, how to code, you can learn anything. It's just, what are you interested in, and are you going to put the time in?
I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
You did your own podcast for a couple of years.
I did.
Or at least 100+ episodes from what we talked about.
I did it for a while.
Why'd you start it?
So like I said, I had a fitness brand back in the day, and we had a gym, and we were fairly well known in the fitness space in like 2014, 2015, like that era. And it was kind of like early-ish days of podcasting, like not everyone had a podcast at the time, but and it was just kind of a way of us getting to know, like our whole business model when we started the company was like we wanted to create a community, and like community is more important than, you know, like what you're selling sometimes, right? Because when we started the brand, we didn't even have anything we were selling. We just started like interacting with people on Twitter. Like that was how we started the brand, you know, like just creating, like putting out our message and creating a community. And so this was like an extension of this.
You want his in?
I'm all right, thank you. It was just an extension of that. So we had our gym, and it was like, what's another way that we can interact with people? People can get to know us better. So we started a podcast. And we started that, and we were just posting on YouTube. Like we'd post the video on YouTube and whatnot. And it went really well. We were just interviewing, like it was half the time it was just me, my business partner, and a guy that worked for us, Jeremy. And then we eventually started bringing on guests, like people in the fitness community that we knew, because we had a pretty big network at the time. And then when that brand, we sold the brand and kind of like let it die. And then I just continued. I rebranded it, continued it with my buddy Jeremy, and we did that for a long time. And it's just kind of like he eventually couldn't do it anymore, so it was just me. And I was like, I don't want it to just be me. So I brought on like a couple guys I knew and like cycled through co-hosts for a while, and then I kind of let it die. Like the last year or so, I lived in Oregon because it was just like it was doing well, but it was just like I didn't have the time for it. Like I didn't have an editor. I was doing it all myself, working a full-time job. It was just too much, and so I just kind of let it go away. Plus, I think at the time I enjoyed it. Like I was telling you before, like it helped me with my speaking, it helped me interact with more people. Like I was getting better at that. But I just felt like maybe I didn't have anything to say, and like the episodes were getting a little bit like I said, I was in a place where I was not super happy with where I was at.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of in a rut, and I felt like that was affecting how I was on the podcast, you know, to where I wasn't contributing anything. I was just talking for the sake of talking. And so it was like, I need to find a better voice. And so I kind of put it aside for a while. And then, I don't know, I've toyed with it, the idea of starting it back up now that I've been here, but I don't know. Everyone has a podcast now. I don't know if I necessarily want to revive it.
Yeah.
Maybe down the road, who knows? But yeah, it was a good experience though.
It's funny you mentioned the co-host because I love doing this with just me.
Yeah.
I've thought about if I did have someone else here asking questions, what if we derail each other? Not even derail each other, but I just love knowing that it's just you and me, and we're just going to let the conversation rip and see where it goes. The thought of a co-host, like even just scheduling, like, hey, James is coming over this day at 5:00. You can be here, right? No, I'm working. Fuck. You know, like even just that, I'm like, that sounds like such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And that became an issue too with the co-host thing, where it's like, oh, like, because it was three of us at a certain point. It was three of us, and it was like getting us all together on the same day, like for enough time was always like such a pain, and then scheduling with a guest at the same time. But I think for your dynamic, where it's like you're just talking to one person, our dynamic was we were talking more like what was going on in the fitness industry. Like, so there was a lot. We didn't always have a guest, so sometimes there was just like us bullshitting back and forth.
Yes.
And so from that standpoint, it was cool to have that aspect of it. But like I think it's like if you're just having a conversation with somebody, it's generally sometimes a lot better to just be two people.
Yeah.
You don't need the third person necessarily. I think it sometimes can throw the dynamic off a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it can work really well, but there's really no in between there.
Depends on the people. I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You gotta be. It's got to be a natural group.
To fast forward in time a little bit, in 2020, if I remember our phone call correctly, you decided to launch a supplement company.
Yeah.
Was this pre or post February or like March when the pandemic really started to ramp up?
So the way that worked is actually in 2018, when I still had the fitness brand, we were starting to expand into supplements. We were going to put out like our own pre-workout or something, and we had gone through like the R&D of it, and we were like on the cusp of releasing it. And then my business partner and I had like a falling out, and the company kind of fell apart. And so that kind of got scrapped. And then I mentioned that we had a investor And so he was like, hey, like, I want to do something with you still. Like, so let's do something. Like you mentioned, like, you like supplements. Let's make something work there. And so I was like, all right, cool. And so we started like researching it, and I knew nothing about the supplement industry. Like, we were just going to put out a pre-workout as like a add-on to our brand. Like, that was not our main focus. It was just kind of like, oh, this is something that people that support our brand would like. And so now it was like pivoting to starting a completely like a brand from the ground up. So it's like completely new brand, new marketing, new, website, new logos. And then also now you're in a thing where now you're having to source ingredients. You're having to manufacture this whole thing in an entire line. Now you have to create an entire line of formulations and stuff. And so it's like, it's a lot more research that goes into, like, so it's not just something like, oh, I'm going to start that and like next week I'm going to call out manufacturing. We're going to have some stuff next month kind of thing. It's like a much longer process. So started that in like 2019 and then, or 2018, 2019, and then eventually 2020. I was supposed to launch at the end of 2019, but being a smaller company kind of got bumped to the back of the line, especially with like all the Black Friday stuff.
Yeah.
All the bigger companies took priority at the manufacturer I was using, so I got the shaft on that one. So we didn't end up getting product in until end of February, and so I launched literally the week of the shutdown. Actually,
Ooh, yippee-i-o-ki-yay.
so I launched. I think the shutdown maybe was on like a Tuesday or something. I think I launched the previous Monday, so I had like a whole week, and then the gym shut down. So it was a really good initial launch. It was awesome. Like, a lot of people supported it. I had a lot of people follow me over from the brand originally, and that was great. But my whole marketing strategy was like grassroots. Like, I was going to go to all these like local bodybuilding shows, local powerlifting meets, go to these expos and stuff. I had a lot of gyms lined up that were going to buy wholesale from me. So I had this whole marketing plan that just got completely derailed by the shutdown, where it was like, all these expos you were going to go to, they're not going to happen. All these gyms that were going to stock your product, now they're shut down. So like they're not going to buy it now because they don't even know if they're going to be open in 4 months or whatever when things go back to normal, right? And then all these local events, they're shut down as well. Like, they're all postponed. So it really put a huge roadblock in the way. And so that was a super challenging time where it's like, oh shit, like, this did really well, but now I have no, like, people are focused on other things now. Like, people aren't really focused on working out. Like, people are worried about, like, are they going to have money for rent next month?
Yeah.
Because now people are out of work.
Am I going to find toilet paper?
Yeah. Am I going to find like, don't even get me started. That was such a crazy, like, I'll never understand that's where
planted that seed.
Yeah, where did that come from? Like, people are worried about toilet paper, but yeah, no. So it's like that put a huge hit to everything, and then I think when things started to open back up, it was a vastly different time, because now, and I don't think a lot of people realize this in the time, but like, supplements have gotten dramatically more expensive. In the last several years since COVID. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, COVID spurred this health movement. And so a lot of supplement companies started, and a lot of people became super obsessed with health. And so prices for raw ingredients skyrocketed right after the shutdown ended. And so, like, the cost of doing business as like a small supplement company became extremely difficult, right? Like before the pandemic, it was, I think, landed cost of a protein powder, like a 2-pound tub of protein, for me at the time was maybe like $25, right? Which you're gonna sell for like 50, maybe $60. At the end of the shutdown, when manufacturing started opening back up, it had almost doubled. It was like $45 for a landed cost for me at the quantities I was ordering. So it became like almost impossible. Like, there's no way I can order that, right? So like, I had to like completely scrap protein from my thing, and like focus on other things. And so in like creatine there was a period in time, like the year and a half after the shutdown, where creatine was like 3 times the cost it is right now. And it's starting to level off a little bit, but yeah, the people don't understand, like the shutdown was one thing, but like the after effects of the shutdown on a lot of things. And I think that caused a lot of people to, like, it ended a lot of businesses, I'm sure. Like, I don't even know what the statistics on that, but I'm sure it crushed a lot of small businesses. So that was a tough one, but luckily that wasn't my sole, like I didn't invest my life into that. It wasn't like I had a normal job. So it was, I could kind of wait it out. Like I wasn't in a position where I was like, oh shit, like I'm not gonna be able to keep my lights on next week because I'm not selling this stuff. So that was kind of a benefit of the whole situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I ask you this next question, I want to set some context for you that I may have told you on the phone, maybe didn't, and for the audience as well. 65% of the people that listen to this podcast are 24 years of age or younger, and I think like 80% are 32 years of age or younger. So it's a pretty young audience.
Right.
And, you know, since I've been in Austin, I know someone that wanted to start a card game, and they never did.
Right.
Someone who wanted to start an athletic T-shirt company. They got the inventory, launched the site, took it down after 2 weeks because sales weren't where they wanted it to be. Someone else where they wanted to start a podcast with no name recognition, just like probably smaller brand than probably you had when you started yours. That never went anywhere. And so I'm seeing a lot of this, oh, I want to do this thing because it sounds exciting, right? Let's get out of the 8 to 5. Let's be my own boss. And then they start to dip their toes in the water a little bit, and the water is a little bit hotter than what they expected it to be. And so they give up on these goals, dreams, aspirations relatively quickly. Yeah. What, as you have pivoted from different brands, podcasts, supplements, personal training, and through it all, you've kept going. You've kept forging a new path and stayed in the fitness industry in some way, shape, or form. Right. What advice would you give to younger members of the audience who are listening that maybe have started adventuring down this path and they're on the brink of giving up, or maybe they're even deciding, I have this idea. Do I want to explore this, or should I just stay in the safety of the 8 to 5 that I'm currently in?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's super valid. Like what we were saying earlier, like, or before that we started the podcast, it was like everyone sees social media, and like social media is all about wins and like, oh, this is how great my life is going, right? And so you see that and you follow these guys. It's like, oh, that guy started a brand, and look at how many look, he's driving a Lamborghini or something. Like, it's like he's killing it, right? Like, I want to do that, and it's like, you're just seeing the snapshot or the reel that he put up where it's like, oh, this is me winning, right? Because everyone wants to showcase their wins. Nobody wants to showcase their losses. I'm sure nobody's going to post like, hey, I launched my T-shirt company and 2 people bought a shirt yesterday, right? Yeah, like nobody wants to do that because it's like, oh, now I'm embarrassed and now I lose credibility. Like everyone wants to look like they're credible, right? Everyone's searching for that acceptance. And so it's real easy to just be like, oh, yeah, this is me winning, right? Or even like faking that you're winning, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's me printing out like a bunch of orders, right? Like, but maybe it's like your friends that bought it, right? Or your mom bought a shirt, like you created some fake orders, right? You're just printing out shit, like, hey, look at all these orders I'm shipping out, right? So it's like, and I've seen people do that where it's like I'm fabricating how many people are actually buying this shit, right? And that's a danger, right? Because we fall into this path of like, oh, now when that dude starts his company, right, and he sells 2 shirts the first week, it's like, oh shit, I'm a failure, like this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
But the reality of the whole thing is it might work out, right? Like you're just not, you just can't expect that instant gratification. Everyone wants instant gratification now, where it's like, oh, I post this, I want 1 million likes, or oh, I did this and so did that, and he made it really successful. So if I do that, I should get super successful too. It's like, that doesn't work like that. Like success, there is really no such thing as an overnight success, right? Some people, they'll get their 15 minutes of fame, like, you know, like the Hawk Tua girl, right? Whatever. Like she got super famous off of one video where she didn't really work for that at all. It just kind of went viral. But the 99% of people are not going to be that person, right? It comes down to like, how much do you actually want this, right? Like, is this something that you're actually bought into, right? Like this T-shirt brand, what's your message behind it? Like, why are you starting? Are you just starting because you want to make money? If that's your motivation there, then probably you should start something else. Like, because here's the thing is, that's not sustainable. Like, people can read through authenticity, and people can decipher if something is authentic. And if you're just out there to make money, people can see that. Like, why would I buy your T-shirt if you don't really care about it, or I could buy this, Iron Will shirt over here, and like I know that their philosophy is like this, right? Like, and I buy into that philosophy. So I buy into that philosophy. Why would I buy your shirt? You're just trying to make $20, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have a good reason for wanting to do it. Like, you can't just start a brand because, hey, I want to have a brand. Like nobody's going to buy that. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So you have to create a reason for people to care. You have to create a community. You have to create a message that resonates with people. And so if you have that and you have something that people are going to buy into and people will believe in and support, that's the key. That's the key first step. The second part of that is it's not going to pick up overnight. Like, you're not going to sell $1 million the first day unless you've already got like a big following or like you've whatever, people already support you. But if you're just some normal guy or girl and you want to start a brand, you're not going to sell $1 million the first week.
Yeah.
There's no way, right? You may sell $1 million in a week down the road, but you'll never get to that point if you stop the first week. So I think it's how much work are you willing to put in and not be successful before you are successful? And I think that's the key. Like, how many hours are you willing to put in and not make any dollars? Because that's going to be the true test of, do you actually get to that point where you are making money and you are successful?
Yeah. Because
I could do this for a week or 2 weeks or 2 months. I could even do it for a year, right? And I may not make $5,000 in that year selling shirts, right? But the next year, maybe I sell 5,000 that first year. That next year, I'm going to try to sell 10,000. Next year after that, I'm going to try to sell 15, 20,000, right? I'm just going to gradually up it. And eventually, 4 or 5 years down the road, maybe I hit, and then that blows up, right? When I started Gunsmith with my buddy, we started it with $500 each, and all we had was a message that we wanted to get out. And we took that $1,000 and we invested it. We bought a cheap site online. I think it was Big Cartel or something. And we started a cheap website, started Twitter, started an Instagram, and bought $1,000 worth of shirts. And that was it. And that first year, I think we did like $13,000 worth of sales, like nothing, right? But the next year we doubled it, and the next year we tripled it, and then by year 5 we were selling 6 figures worth of shirts, right? And so it's like, it doesn't happen overnight, but you have to be willing to put in the work, because nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to just give you success, because everyone else wants it, right? Why would they give it to you? So I think the biggest thing is people just give up too early.
Yeah.
Like they hit that adversity, they hit that speed bump where it's like, oh, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. And it's like, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. And that's why people fail. That's why people don't succeed. That's why businesses shut down, because you didn't have the stomach or the endurance to get to the finish line. If you just stick with something long enough, you will eventually be successful. It's just the problem is you don't know where that line is. Is it next year, or is it 4 years down the road, or is it 10 years down the road? Like, I follow this guy on TikTok, and he it's like the School of Hard Knocks. He just goes around and interviews like the most successful people, like all these billionaires, millionaires, like super wealthy people. And I would say more than half of them that he interviews, it's like, when did you make your first million? Oh, I made it when I was 42, 43. Like, it's not like, hey, I'm 21, I just made $1 million. It's like, hey, I worked for 20 something years and eventually I hit it. And it's like, if I told you, hey, if you work every day and work on your brand, work on your podcast, right? If you do this every day or every week for the next, 4 years, you may be successful, you may not, but eventually you will be successful. And maybe 8 years down the road, maybe that's when it hits, right? Maybe that's when you get your big podcast that drops and like everyone tunes in, and then you're the next Joe Rogan or some shit, right?
Yep.
But you'll never find that out if you stop after week 1 because only 4 people listened.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big proponent of, like, if you put in enough work, eventually you will be successful. But like, you'll never find that if you just give up.
Yeah.
but most people don't have the stomach to stick with it, or the attention span to stick with it, or the desire. Because I think a lot of people get into things for the wrong reasons.
This will be cool.
Yeah, this will. Well, it's like everyone thinks their idea is cool. Everyone thinks their idea is awesome, right? Like everyone thinks that they're gonna be like their thing's the coolest thing ever. It's like it might be, but what differentiates that? Like, and I think a lot of the time it's there is nothing that differentiates it. You're just doing it because you want the notoriety that comes with that, or you think that that's gonna make you rich.
Yeah.
But it's like you gotta believe into it. If you don't believe into it, it's like what we were talking about earlier. If I'm not gonna care as much as you, if you don't care, why would I care? So if you don't believe in your business and you don't believe in your message, then why would I care? So I don't know.
How did you come up? You mentioned with Gunsmith Clothing, you guys had a message. Do you recall how you came up with that? Was it just a couple guys brainstorming together, or was it something else?
No, it was literally just us sitting in a room where, like, because we're both into fitness and we're both like ex-athletes, and we had a higher level of like expectation for ourselves, and so it was like, what are we focused on doing? And our whole thing was like being a better version of yourself, and you know that it's only you versus you, and what you're working towards is being the best version of you to be able to deal with any sort of adversity that comes your life, because life can suck, right? And you're building up to be the best version of yourself so that when life does suck, you can get through it. And so our whole thing was like, build yourself into the ultimate weapon, like the ultimate weapon to battle whatever life throws at you.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our messaging behind it, and that's what we launched everything around, and people really resonated with it. Like, it resonates with people because it's like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're like a bodybuilder, if you're just working out because you know had a tough job, right? Like you're burning off some steam after your 9 to 5 because you had to deal with customers all day. It doesn't matter. You're working out to be a better version of yourself, and so we support that.
Yeah.
And so that resonated with a lot of people, and I think messaging's huge, right?
Earlier in the episode, you'd mentioned that at one point of your life, not being homeless again was a motivation to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
And before we jumped on mic, you had mentioned that, you've been doing some of your own soul searching over the last couple months. Since that, time has passed, we're talking a, 15, 20 year change of time. What's your motivation today? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think it's still the same motivation. It's just like refining what that actually looks like, right? Like when I was younger, it was like I wanted to be a better version of myself, and what that version of myself was like I was bigger, I was stronger, I was fast. Like it was all superficial shit. Whereas like not a whole lot of deep thought of like, how do I become a better person? And it was more of a like large scale, like a specific thing where it's like, oh, I just need to be stronger, I need to be bigger, I need to be like cooler, like I need to dress better, like that type of shit. And then gradually, like, it becomes more of like, as you get older, I think you focus more on, well, that stuff fades. Like, nobody cares. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like, people come up to me at the gym and be like, oh, how much you bench, kind of thing. Like, that's cool. But like, that doesn't fulfill me necessarily. So it's like, what does being a better person mean at this point, right? Like, and or being a better version of myself, what does that look like? Like, yeah, I've reached a point where I'm super strong and like I look good and whatever, but like that doesn't define me.
Yes.
Right. And I think like the last month or so, I've really had this kind of like switch up. Some things have happened in my life that have like forced me to like actually look at who I am inside, like, and like the shit that like you put aside, right? Because like, it's like, well, I don't need to talk about my emotions. Like, especially like me growing up, it was like, no, you don't talk about emotions. Like, you're supposed to be a badass. You're supposed to be a big dude. Like, nobody cares, right? And so it's more of like a reflection now in this last month where it's like, oh, I have some shit that I need to figure out. Like, there's some things about myself that I don't necessarily like that I've allowed to develop, whether that's, trauma or whatever, or things that I'm doing in my life that I don't recognize, like that was never me, right? Or maybe it was me, but I didn't like acknowledge it, right? So the last month I've definitely taken a lot of internal thoughts and like focused on what does that look like, me being a better person, like me being a better friend, me being a better partner in a relationship, me being a better trainer or coach to my clients. Like, what does that look like? And so I've taken some steps where it's like things that I'm going to do more to reflect on being the better version, like working out my internal right now, because I've done all the physical external work. Like, what does the internal work look like? So it's like I've stopped drinking, because that brought no value to my life. Like I didn't like who made me when I was drinking, and I didn't like the after effects. I didn't like the person it was making me the next day or 2 days later, like the anxiety, like the depression, like all that stuff that comes after, right? Yeah. So I gave up drinking. So it's been 3 weeks almost since I stopped drinking. I was like, it from a social aspect, it's like, oh, that kind of like I don't go to the bars anymore, but it's better for me. Like I wake up on Sunday, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, like, I can go do stuff. Half the day is not spent like me like laying in bed being a piece of shit. And then I've started journaling a lot more. I think that's huge. I've never done that before. Like actually sitting in writing. I can't remember the last time I wrote anything with a pen. Really, honestly. Like if I think about it, like outside of like filling out maybe an application or something, I don't think like in the last 20 years, I don't think I've really ever written anything down. And so that's been huge too. Like just sitting in your thoughts and like putting them down. And I've realized that that's actually something I really enjoy, where it's like I'm actually able to like take all the shit that's going on in my head and put it on paper and like get some clarity of like, oh, maybe you weren't as mad about that one thing, or maybe you are. Maybe this isn't something that you've been thinking about, like the homeless thing, right? Maybe that is something that I kind of swept under the rug, and maybe that is something I need to deal with, right? And so actually writing down, getting some clarity on paper, and then there's there's been a bunch of other things as well, like I'm setting aside every day I'm trying to do something that's new or challenging or fun, something that's going to get me like out of that rut of mental like because we find ourselves, at least I find myself falling into like a routine of like, hey, I wake up at this time, I do this, I go to the gym here, I do this, and like it's a Groundhog Day cycle almost. So it's like finding a way to break that up, because I think we need a little bit of change every now and then. And so finding something every day where it's like, oh, I enjoy doing that, or that was fun, or that was challenging, or it was new, and that's going to make me, elevate my mood a little bit. Yeah. And then also started going back to church recently. I went, for the first time ever in like 20 years, like the last weekend. So, and that was like a different thing too. It was like kind of exploring faith a little bit. And at 38, that was like uncomfortable experience to go to a church where you don't know anybody, right?
Could see that.
Yeah. So, but it's cool because I'm trying to surround myself with positive people. And even if you were to look at it from a standpoint of like, oh, I don't know if I necessarily believe in like God or Jesus or anything like that, it's the moral code of people like treating people better, and like there's some value there, and it's what you take out of it kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, so I'm on this little path of like self-reflection and like, what does that look like, me being a better person and becoming a better version of myself through that. And I think we often gloss over like the mental aspect, because nobody really wants to talk about their trauma and shit. Right. Like that's not what you're posting on social media, right? Like that's not the win.
Yeah.
So, but we all have it, right? And so it's
you weren't planning on talking about being homeless when you came on.
Yeah. I think I don't really talk about that with many people, but yeah. So yeah, no, you got to explore some of those darker parts, because I think that's the only real way that you can progress and grow as a person. And so that's my mission last month or so, and what I'm going to continue to work on moving forward, as well as all the other stuff. But yeah. So
well, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think, to your point, it does take a certain amount of courage to put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
I think that is a trait that a lot of men can relate to wanting to have more of, is to be a courageous, confident human being.
Right.
And even just doing something that may seem relatively small, like going to to church for the first time in 20 years, that takes some effort on your part,
Right.
or anyone's part,
Right.
doing something that I have not done in 20 years.
Yeah.
And then coupled with that thing is being surrounded by a bunch of people that I don't know.
Yeah.
That is setting yourself up for a very potentially uncomfortable situation. However, the more we get used to being uncomfortable, the easier it becomes. And then when we're in those uncomfortable situations, we just have such a stronger fortitude to navigate those, whether it's going to church. Just this morning, I knew I wasn't going to have time to get a workout in before you came over today, which is something I almost religiously do before a podcast episode. But what I did have time for is going to Barn Springs, got out there by 7 a.m., jumped in the water, swam a few laps. And even though I didn't talk to anybody, there's probably a good 30, 40 other people out there. And it was just a great kickoff to the day to be with 30 other people, swimming laps, gray skies, rain was trickling down a little bit, the water was cold. It was uncomfortable. I had a great freaking day. And I can't say it was all attributed to that, but I think the more we put ourselves and force ourselves to do something that's out of the ordinary, that just switches up the day a little bit, it really can set you on a path to success.
No, 100%. It's very easy to just stay in your comfort zone. But the thing about it is like nothing grows in your comfort zone, right? Like you don't change in your comfort zone, right? Like you don't get bigger by staying in your comfort zone in the gym, right? Like if you're only using the weights that you feel comfortable using every time, like you're never going to get stronger, you're never going to get like bigger. If you only interact with people that like you and like like you, like you're never going to experience like the growth of like, oh, meeting new people, right? Like that we talked about before the podcast is like when we first moved here, right? It was tough to meet new people because that's like we're older and it's like people have their friend groups established and it's like, oh, I have to actually go out and meet people now. And it's like that's not comfortable. Yeah. For some people it is, right? But for me it's not. Like that's not like I'm a bit more introverted. So it's like if you just stay at your comfort zone all the time, you're never going to progress. And yeah, I agree 100%. And so that's kind of like what I was saying, like trying to do something new or challenging every day that's going to put me in a place where it's like I'm testing my limits of my comfort zone every day because it's too easy to just kind of get in your own routine and you're never changing it up. And I think that's where people end up unhappy and in a rut and kind of spiraling, right? Like that's that person that's like working that 9-to-5 job and it's like, oh, I want to start that business or I want to do that, but I shouldn't. I don't know if I want to, like, I don't want to put myself out there kind of thing. Yeah. And so then they're going to work that 9-to-5 job for the next 30 years, look back on their life and they're like, fuck, I could have done that.
It's going to be that much harder when you're 48 versus when 100%. You're 28.
Yeah. And even just from the standpoint of like regret, right? You're going to look back and I'm like, damn, I wish I had started the business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And I would hate to be that person. Yeah. And so, yeah, doing things. And I'm not going to say that I've followed that pathway for a long time. Like I think we naturally as humans, we want to fall into a comfort zone. I think you have to find a way to push yourself out of that. Yeah. Because the default setting is like, hey, I want to lay in bed, eat Cheetos and watch TV, right? Like that sounds great. Like that's cool. But you can't do that every day. No. Right? Because what's going to happen? You're going to get fat, you're going to get unhappy, you're going to be isolated away from people, and you're going to become an introvert. So it's like you have to find a way to challenge yourself. Yeah. Like go to Barton at 7 a.m., jump in the cold water and swim laps with people that maybe do that on a regular basis, right? And now it's like, oh, this is a community of people that are always here. Yeah. And now I'm the outsider. But eventually you're not the outsider, right? Yeah. And then now maybe you met a new friend. Maybe, met a new person for the podcast. Maybe you met a new business partner. Like you never know. But if you stay in the bed eating Cheetos and don't go to Barton, you never know. You never know. Yeah. So I think that, you're 100% on with that. You got to do something uncomfortable.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, man. This was fun.
This has been a super fun episode. Before I ask you my last question, is there anything you're doing, working on that you want to shout out or give just a brief shout out for?
Not really. I'm in the process of rebranding the supplement company. So that will be hopefully in the next 4 months or so. So stay on the lookout for that maybe. But that's not right now. So I guess maybe if you're interested in fitness and you're looking for changing things up, I do online coaching as well. So like that's something, if you're not in Austin, or if you are in Austin, you want to do some in-person stuff, we can do that. But if you're looking for it and you're not in Austin, I do remote coaching as well. And then, the supplement company in the next 4 months will be rebranded, hopefully.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure to put your Instagram handle in the show
Appreciate
notes.
it.
So if
Yeah.
anyone wants to give you a follow or send you a message
Yeah.
about anything and everything, they can do so.
Yeah.
Before I ask you my last questions to the audience, thank you guys for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a small favor, which will take 10 seconds of your time and cost you absolutely no money. If you were listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts today, hit that follow button. And if you were watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you guys do this small favor to me, my twofold promise to you will be, one, that this podcast will remain free so that there's never any subscription or paywall included, and that you can continue to listen to these stories that ignite your fire on a weekly basis. And my second promise is to continue to find awesome guests like James who come on here courageously and share genuine stories with you so that you can learn from them, be motivated by them, hopefully share a few laughs with us as we go through these stories. And I just greatly appreciate you guys doing that for me. So thank you so much. My last question for you is one that I asked my last guest. It caught him off guard a little bit, and I really appreciated him just thinking of his answer. And I thought, I'm going to ask this in the next 3 to 6 episodes and see what how other people respond. What gives you hope for the future?
Oh, man. Like my personal future, or like the future just in general?
Future in general.
Oh, man. What was your last guest answer?
Well, he came at it from a very unique standpoint in that he is a trauma researcher.
Okay.
And so he works with a lot of big pharma companies and actually does studies on new drugs where they will get 10 people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia and 10 people who another 10 people who are not. And then, one set of people gets the actual drug, the other gets the placebo, and then they measure the effects over time and see. So a lot of his hope for the future was just where that particular industry is going and seeing different drugs with less side effects that are also becoming more effective and more affordable so that we can treat people with trauma more effectively. So his answer was so specific to what he thinks about on a 40-hour-a-week basis. I felt like it was pretty unique, but that was his response.
Interesting. Let's see. I think my hope for the future, I think a lot more people are taking better care of themselves. And I like the idea because it seems like there is a huge, at least in the last several years, there's been a huge health kick of trying to optimize the human body, and whether that's through peptides, diet, different types of training. I think I was just watching that thing with like Brian Johnson the other day, like the guy that's trying to live forever, whatever.
Yes.
Like there's so much cool stuff out there, and like optimize, like you don't have to take it to his extreme, but like in terms of like how you can maximize like your hormones and maximize like your mood and like all this stuff that comes along with that. I think that leads to a healthier population that takes better care of themselves, and then in turn is a better population like as a whole. And so that, I think that gives me a lot of hope. And especially living in Austin, you see that a lot because it's a big active community where like people aren't necessarily in the gym. They're doing yoga, they're doing like running, they're doing Ironmans, they're doing all sorts of stuff. And it's like, you don't have to just stick to one way of working out to, take care of yourself. And there's not one answer of that. But I think as a whole, it seems like society's getting a lot more in tune with that type of thing. And I like that idea.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
That is one thing I love about Austin, especially downtown. You drive around the Zilker Park area, especially on a Saturday morning.
Everyone's running.
The city feels alive.
Yeah.
It feels so freaking good.
Yeah. Especially now that the weather's nice and stuff. Yeah.
For now. Once
yeah.
we get to July,
till-
those runners might disappear for a month or two.
Yeah, you might find them at dusk.
Yeah, or maybe at Barn Spring swimming laps.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, James, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. I hope that you, as well as the audience, have a very healthy and happy week, and we will see everyone next Saturday on another episode of DSNSB.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, James. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.